Welcome to the Horror Hangout, podcast where two better film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor Kate, and joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Ben Errington.
And today we have a very special guest. He's been on the show previously, so you probably recognize his lovely voice. It's movie, nostalgia, and gaming content creator / host of Enigmatic Productions and the Trash Tapes. It is Mr.
Edward Harvey, also known as Harvey Retro now.
Oh,
like
he's got an alias. He's got an alias.
He's an alias. yeah, not too bad.
A lot of people know me now as Harvey Retro, like who I've met online, which is kind of cool.
Is
and
that
they
what you
call
are?
me like Ed? They'll call me Harvey.
That's strange.
Oh,
Because we've known each other for a long time now, right?
Mm.
At least
20
10
years.
whoa!
No,
It must be at
This
least a
is-
decade.
yeah, definitely. When was Macho Dan? Because that was when we kind of first sort of met up. That was like
The people who don't know
2000
that,
and-
we used to have naked wrestling tournaments.
I want to say 2014, but
Oh, okay. I thought yeah, sounds about right. I thought it'd be like 2011, but I have no concept of time. So, but yeah, Harvey Retro, because you guys have, I was just going to ask, you have the Discord channel now. You're Harvey Retro in there, right? I think I saw someone talking to Harvey Retro and I was like, oh, Ed. It took me like a second to sort of.
Who is this guy?
yeah. It's I don't know. I want to kind of build that name now, so it's my like online presence.
It
Harvey
suits
Retro.
you, yeah. When I think of videotapes, well, now I think of this film, but before I thought of Ed Harvey Retro.
Yeah.
Of your VHS collections.
Just
Yeah.
Harvey Retro. Just Harvey Retro. That's the alias.
It's not Ed Harvey Retro.
Nope. Don't mess with the brand.
Yeah,
It just rolls off the tongue quite nicely, Harvey Retro, so I thought I'd stick with that.
yeah. Ben, we need some cool names.
Yeah.
Better than Luke.
Any suggestions?
Ben's nice. I like Ben.
You do? Glad to hear it. Well, you've got like Luke Condor with a K, which kind of that rolls off the tongue.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. And Luke of Condor is like your social media alias. And what's mine?
Ben_Errington.
He knows it.
Is it underscore?
Yeah, and that's
Oh,
nowhere
I
near
went
as-
against what I would naturally go to.
That's what you should do. Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
I
Hang on,
don't know.
I'm gonna lose the layer.
I've never really been one for nicknames or aliases or anything like that. So nothing's ever really stuck with me, apart from Twathead. No, not that. But that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come up with one in the future when I really need one.
Yeah. By the way, it's our 4-year anniversary yesterday, right? 4
Alright.
years it is.
Awesome. Congratulations.
4 years. Thank you
That's
very much.
Blown
Yeah.
by.
I mean,
Although
it really
has
has
it?
blown by.
Or has it? Sure.
So, yeah, I was thinking this the other day. Like, I can't remember the exact moment that we decided we were going to do a podcast about horror movies. And we also mentioned the fact that Andy, who is pretty much a regular co-host now, he's on pretty much every episode or every other episode.
Mm.
Me and Luke don't even remember when we first actually started speaking to him. So I reckon something's happened along the lines where he's just found his way into the podcast, and that's how we.
It's
That's
like
how
the origin of the Joker. You don't know how it
Yeah,
started.
no idea how it started. Maybe he doesn't have an origin.
There
Maybe
will be
just
an
one.
origin story about Andy Condor
Yeah.
Turner at some point in time.
Of course,
be
'cause it'd
divisive.
needed. Dancing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Ben, you had a new segment you wanted to shove into this bit of the show, right?
Yes, this
You
is.
said
This
you
is
wanted to put it in really neatly. Yeah.
I wanted to put it in really neatly by shoving it in. Last few episodes, we've kind of, in this opening part of the podcast, we've kind of spoken about a lot of random issues and ilks and things that frustrate us. So I thought a new segment could be real life horrors and things that like genuinely do terrify you in real life that you've experienced, and then maybe our listeners could suggest some as well for us to discuss. One thing I was going to discuss today was the fact that I took my car for an MOT, yearly MOT, and that fear that kind of like sits in the bottom of your belly and just swishes around like you've had too much iron brew. And it's basically giving your car over to somebody and saying, "Charge me as much as you want." That's kind of what you're doing. And what I want to talk about is that fear. And like, are there anything else in the world where you kind of do go to somebody and pretty much charge me whatever you want? It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, like you're at his, or I don't know if it's man or woman. You're at their, like, what's the word? They could have whatever which way they want with you.
Yeah,
with
they
your
just
wallet
tell,
anyway.
they just tell you what's wrong with the car. Like, I'm not an expert in automobiles, so they just go, "This is wrong with it," and you go, "Is it? Okay, it's going to cost £400," and you go, "Okay." There's literally nothing you can do about it. And I hate that control being taken away from me, especially in a financial term, because I'm definitely the kind of person who likes to bargain and barter and try and get the best price and shop around.
Are
I
you
love doing
really?
that.
I don't know if I shop around. Maybe I'll do the compare the market thing. But I never got. I think that's quite a scary thing to barter. You go to a shop and they say the cappuccino is £2.99. I don't think I would ever say
Not like that.
bring it.
In the sense, in like a retail sense, or where something is a price, I would never ever barter. I would never ever say, "Could you do it for a bit cheaper?" Seeing as I shop here a lot. I mean, that is a twat. But when it comes to something like this, where I feel like, so for example, today when somebody was telling me how much my repairs were going to cost, he was definitely just adding numbers together. He was just looking and going, "Yeah, that costs about that. That costs about that." And then he came to £306, and I was a bit like, yeah, but really? Like, because it seems like you've just gone this, and this. Like, it's quite terrifying. I find it quite terrifying.
You've got to shop around. I'm not too sure how scary this is, shopping around. But I remember the last one I had, for American listeners, I don't know if you had MOTs, it's like a yearly checkup of your car. But the guy said it would be £111, and the part, I looked at it, it was like £5 from a car shop. I ordered it and thought, I don't know how to fit it, and then I took it back to him. so I was £5 even worse off.
He was like, "Well, just for that, I'm going to charge you double." I suppose a similar feeling would be, say, for possibly American listeners, is like if you end up in an accident or hurting yourself, and then you go to the hospital and you literally have no idea how much something's going to cost.
Yeah.
That kind of puts the fear of God into me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I found pretty terrifying. Buying a house for the first time. I don't know what anyone is talking about. I don't understand mortgages. I don't understand what the solicitors are saying. And it's just like, yeah, okay, you just agree.
Right.
Yeah, that is scary, because that's like not an easy thing to get out of. Like, it's a proper commitment.
No, I'm just totally going along with everything. Like, I don't know.
These are real life horrors, but they're also really adult horrors. You know, things that wouldn't have even crossed your mind when you're like 15 years old. I got to do what? Shut up. Not interested.
I always get scared a little bit. I'll tell you some real life horrors. I'll knock some off. Someone's knocking at the door that you weren't expecting anyone. That terrifies me for some reason, because I think something's wrong. Withheld number, that terrifies me. Getting on a plane when it first takes off and you realise there's no getting off the ride now. You have to kind of make peace with the fact you may never get off the plane.
And that little dip when your stomach flips over. I think that's it. It's over. It's the end.
Also on a plane, when you flush the toilet, that's so loud.
You think you get sucked down it?
Yeah. Not again.
Yeah. And withheld number, like, if it's withheld, I need to answer it, because I think there's no way I'm
without held numbers.
Without held. But if it's a number I don't recognize, I'll give that a quick Google. See if people say this is a a nuisance call or not.
Really? Yeah. I just don't. I don't know who the number is, I just never answer it. And if it's important, they'll leave a message.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it eats away at me.
That's scary. Listen to voicemail thinking, "Oh, what's this?" And it's just and just like a little note. Just put the phone down. Because no one leaves voicemails. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You were talking earlier about like when you get a knock at the door and you don't know who it is. We get, like, on a regular basis, like every few months, we get like a knock at the door, and it's like young offenders trying to sell stuff like door to door. Like they were in prison and they've been given a job to like try and sell stuff out of a big bag.
Like soaps and sponges and stuff.
Yeah, and it's quite intimidating that. And I always like let them do the thing and then don't buy anything. I haven't got any cash, mate.
Yeah. Cashless society now, mate. No one carries any cash. See you later. I've got a card machine. Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, where'd you steal that from, mate?
Oh, no.
Super offensive.
I think those words, I've got a card machine, might be a real life horror.
You know, I remember someone doing that to you at a Comic-Con or something, Ben. Someone, I think you said, I don't have any cash, and they just pulled a card machine out of the pocket.
Yeah, I've been on the other end of it as well. You know, when it's quite nice when you're on the other end of it, and someone goes, "Sorry, I ain't got any cash left," and you go, "Well, I've got a card machine." They go,
or they could whip out like a tablet with PayPal ready to go, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. You just have your email address. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, at that point, you just got to piss your pants on you and just go, "Oh, sorry."
Well, I don't think you have to do that. I mean, don't go that far.
How would you
what are they paying you for?
How would you get out of it then? Go on, tell me.
I don't know. I just don't. I
slowly.
I don't think I ever find myself in a situation. I don't think I say I don't have any cash. I think I just. Oh, I do the. I'm gonna have a look around, and then I just don't finish the sentence.
I haven't fully committed to a purchase yet, but when I do, with my allocated funds for the day, I'll be back.
Yeah. Remember that guy he was around our table twice, and he said he had face blindness. And I always thought that was a fake thing, like it was like a joke illness. And I'm still not sure if he actually just didn't want to.
Well, when he said he had face blindness, what, like he couldn't remember who we were? What?
I spoke to him twice, and the second time he was like, he didn't remember me, and then he said he had face blindness.
He was just, I mean, he'd let himself down, and he was trying to get out of it, wiggle his way out of it.
And then he weed himself.
How many layers did you have on at this particular time, Luke? Because if you had 9 on, I think he'd remembered you. A big, just rolling towards it.
Yeah. I look like the inner part of a Teletubby. If you take that, I've got like the shape going on. Oh no, I've lost it.
I've lost my 9 hoods.
I don't know if people like if they have their own real life horrors that they want to jump in with.
I mean, if you got your own real life horror, hit us up on the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors, and we may or may not discuss it. This part of the show may be completely dead in the water. You may never hear it again. If you're listening to it, then you've been treated. If it never happens again, then I apologize.
I can remember I worked at the Pride Park football stadium, Derby County Football Club football stadium, and a guy who I was serving burgers with, like, casually said, "Oh, I got stabbed once." And I said, "What?" And then he said, like, he had like this massive scar on his side, and he just told me about how he's walking home once. Someone got out of a car and punched him in the stomach, and he walked home, and then he collapsed and realized he hadn't been punched in the stomach, he'd been stabbed. There's a real life horror story for you.
I mean, I'm sure you've told me that story before. I've heard you say that story.
I was thinking real life horrors like mild inconveniences and frustrations, but getting stabbed, Jesus.
Inconvenient. Wild inconvenience, I thought you said.
A wild inconvenience. Got you.
Yeah. I probably have told you that before. If you're walking around Derby, because that's where it happened.
Yeah.
Around Pride Park.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Have we got any horror news?
Got some horror news. So M. Night Shyamalan shared the first look at his new thriller called Old ahead of the Super Bowl, which was the Sunday. Did you guys see this trailer at all?
No. I only saw one Super Bowl advert. The Edward Scissorhands one.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty cool with Winona Ryder as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this trailer, again, don't want to give too much away, but the main crux of the movie seems to be there's a beach where a family and some other people are, and they seem to be getting really old really quickly. Like there's kids who go off and then they come back and they're like 30.
Like Death Stranding.
Pretty much like Death Stranding, yeah. But instead of rain, it looks like it's just going to be the salty sea air that's doing it. But I think it's based on a book as well, if I remember correctly. can't see which one. It doesn't say here, but it's based on a book, I believe, or a comic book or something. But yeah, could be quite interesting. M Night Shyamalan's having a kind of a resurgence, I guess.
Yeah, he's got that TV show on Apple TV at the minute that I need to watch. Servant.
Servant. Yeah.
Do you think he's still got it, old M Night?
I think he can pull it. Well, I think he can pull it out of the bag around again.
Yeah.
The bit with the visit when they're under the house, and the grandmother, like, I don't know, it's like she does like a crawl across the floor, like pounces towards the little kid. That was terrifying.
I think he's definitely got the ability to still have it, but I think some of his recent stuff has been a bit. I wasn't particularly infused with Glass. No. I really didn't like The Visit, but maybe I need to give it another chance because I did see it a long time ago in the cinema. What else has he done recently? Is that it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't really. I'm not. See, he was one of these that he peaked very early, didn't he? Like his first, it's like a big movie, like Sixth Sense and The Unbreakable. Those movies are awesome, and then but he had to keep that like level up, didn't he? Like, which is hard.
Yeah. He did the one with Paul Giamatti. And he finds like a magic reader story about some apartment complex, which I quite liked.
Lady in the Water.
Yeah, it was about a lady in the water.
She was in the water.
I think the twist was in the title. Yeah.
That was kind of it. I think a lot of people started to believe that his movies were all about the twist, and they were relying on the twist. And what's the big twist going to be? Possibly held him back a little bit. Whereas, like, how am I going to follow up some massive twists with? Well, I might even do a movie with no twist. You're going to do what? There's going to be no. The twist is there's going to be no twist.
I like the voice of the people.
Gonna do what? No twist. Nonsense.
I don't really like twists anymore in films. I don't like it. Just like the whole pulling the rug under the audience like feet like at the end. I just don't like that way of kind of storytelling anymore. I've gone off it, I think, because even if I go back to watching Sixth Sense now, which is his best work, considered his best work, I think that's aged. It hasn't aged great either. It's basically the plot revolves around that twist, so it can have flaws because it doesn't matter. It's got a good twist at the end.
When you watch it back and you know what the twist is, you feel like it just ruins it because you're just looking for those signposted moments of what the twist is. No one bloody talks to Bruce Willis.
Yeah, but he's on a bus at one point. I mean, the Screen Rant pitch meeting video said like
someone sits on his lap.
How did he pay? Like ghost cash. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You'd notice, wouldn't you, after a while, that everyone's ignoring you. Like, come on. Ghost cash. I got contestless ghost cash.
Ghost cash is tight.
Those Screen Rant videos are really good as well. Pitch meeting ones.
They're so funny. Really well together.
It'd be good if somebody sat on his lap on the bus. And he was like, excuse me, you're sat on my hi.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna deal with it. That would be better. I'd have enjoyed that. Do you know what? News is a bit thin on the ground. Apparently the Ju-on director, so the director of the TV show Ju-on Origins, has got a new horror movie called Suicide Forest Village, which I guess is a spin on that film. Did you see the film The Forest with Natalie Dormer? Which was
I did actually, yeah.
I think it's critically panned, and I remember watching it, and it was a bit naff. But the Suicide Forest stuff is all pretty spooky. So the synopsis for this is: one day a mysterious box arrived and a curse began to spread all over. The source of the box is Jukai Village. The village is hidden in Jukai Forest, a suicide spot that once you enter it, you could never come out.
Okay. Could be good. Cursed box. It's good.
So there's a trailer for that, which I haven't seen yet. But I quite enjoyed Ju-on Origins. It was like, it wasn't massively obvious that it was a spin-off of The Grudge, because you expected it to hit all these particular beats and have all these particular visuals, but it was quite a good sort of ghost story which had quite a few layers to it as well. So
I
almost
watched
as many
that.
layers as you You saw it as well, Ed?
Yeah, I don't know. I perhaps didn't like it quite as much as you. I think I wanted more ties to the series, and I wanted more I wanted it to be kind of like be a proper link to the films, and it was a bit too far removed in my opinion. But
it was a bit of like a loose connection, wasn't it? Really, to it. I really like. Do you remember like the end credits were really strange as well, aren't they? Like it was just like a forest that looked like it was submerged in water, and just like a really like wistful, odd little, almost like a lullaby over the top. It was just little touches like that I think made me enjoy it as much as I did it, because it didn't feel particularly obvious as it could have done, possibly. Another Super Bowl trailer or Super Bowl spot was for Clarice, the Silence of the Lambs spin-off series, which is on CBS this week, I believe. I think it premieres on Thursday. So I don't know if you guys have seen this. It kind of like goes, right, Silence of the Lambs series, is it? Here's as many visuals that you can imagine from the Silence of the Lambs series in one go. We've got death's head moths all over the place. Death's head moths landing on mouths. Lambs. We've got southern drawl accents. It's all there. But so basically, if you like Silence of the Lambs and you want more, you know, why wouldn't you? This seems like it's got probably too much. But I'm probably going to watch something like this. I would probably watch a couple of episodes. So it's a year after the events of the Silence of the Lambs. Apparently, it's a deep dive into the untold personal story of Clarice Starling. So it's going to be. Yeah, I do wonder. I bet she's going to be silencing some lambs, moths chasing her around. Did you guys like the Hannibal show?
I only watched the first few episodes. It was good. I don't know me continue with it.
Yeah, I've got. There's a lot of people that said, "No, you'd love it. You got to stick with it and watch it all." And I'm like, I don't know. I might do that, but so far I haven't done that.
I might do that, but because you've told me to, I'm going to purposely not do that. Okay.
The thing is, though, people often do that. They often say like, "Oh, you'd love this. You'd love this game, or you'd love that." And for some reason, I don't. Like, watch it all or don't play it. It's like it's rebelling against their wishes.
You don't know me.
I was trying to get my friend Duncan to play Inside for about 2 years, and Inside is one of my favorite games. And I kept like banging on about it so often to him that when he played it, I think it kind of was underwhelming to him because I just really sort of hashed over it too much. So yeah, I think nowadays you've just got to undersell everything. Yeah, it could be quite good. See what you think.
I think I actually said that exact thing to you last week, Ed, when I told you when we were talking about Psycho Gorman. I think I did actually say you'd love it.
Yeah, but now I've actually seen the trailer. I will actually love that, so I will actually check that out.
It's all right. Don't get you know.
Have you guys seen?
Oh, you're doing your own selling thing though.
Have you guys seen Turbo Kid as well?
Yeah.
No, that's on my post-apocalyptic watch list.
I've been told a lot lately, especially since Psycho Gorman, to watch that. So, what are your thoughts on that,
Ed? It's just like it's got some ridiculous like random gore in it that I didn't expect, but it's like got everything you want from like a 80s like sort of kids kind of movie, but it's also got like the whole 80s kind of action movie kind of but merging into it as well. But it's got a proper banging synthwave soundtrack as well.
Lovely.
Really good.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
You've oversold it to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not gonna.
I like it. Well, I'm not gonna like it. I think that's kind of it in terms of horror news. I saw some stuff about Neil Marshall talking about making a new film called The Lair, but I've heard his film that's just come out, The Reckoning, is getting a little bit of a ass slapping from critics. Apparently, it's not particularly good. I think I've seen a few people in our Facebook group saying it's a bit of a shit show, but I'll probably watch it. But apparently, he's making a new movie called The Lair, which is going to be a legit monster movie. So I'll still watch stuff he does. I didn't particularly hate Hellboy, his version of Hellboy.
It's on Netflix at the minute, and I again, that's the other way. It's been undersold too much. Like, I need it to be like right in the middle for me to watch something.
That sweet spot. I won't mind watching it again just to remind myself, but I remember thinking it was all right. I mean, it wasn't. It's not like nowhere near as good as the Guillermo del Toro, Ron Perlman movies. But yeah, again, that's it. Unless anyone else has seen any other horror news this week, it has been a bit thin on the ground. Nothing much been announced. That's it then.
No. Nada.
Isn't Little Nightmares 2 out this week?
Yeah, that's some news. Little Nightmares 2 is out this week. Have you played the first one, Ed? Little Nightmares?
No, but I've watched Johann play through the first one on Twitch, like pretty much the whole thing. So I've probably seen the whole game, him playing it, because it was so funny. He was shrieking at everything. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, Johann is a joy to watch playing games. Did he? There's a couple of bits. There's a bit where there's like a avalanche of people like pouring through this corridor after you. Do you remember that bit? I can imagine Johann having a whale of a time.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's a funny that game is like it's got a bit of a Tim Burton-y kind of vibe, but it's scarier, isn't it? It's kind of
scarier and gorier. Like it's got actual gore in it. And it's definitely got a Tim Burton-esque stuff. It's got. I always get like almost a Studio Ghibli vibe as well. In this, in Spirited Away, when the family's turning into pigs. Yeah. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of made me think of that. Yeah, so it's a weird little tone, but it does do what it does quite well.
Because it lures you in with the cuteness, like thinking, oh, it's not going to be scary, but it actually is scary.
Yeah, super tense. Yeah. I'm definitely going to play the second one. What's the main character's like a baghead or something? He's got a bag on his head.
Well, them bagheads, isn't he?
Yeah. Has anybody watched anything or seen anything good or played anything good this past week or so?
Completely forgot about that section of the show. We've overdone it now, haven't we? We've got too many sections of the show now.
You seen anything, Ben?
Do you know what? I've watched next to nothing this week. I did watch a movie called Satyr, which is a psychological supernatural horror movie from director Jordan Graham, who did everything. He wrote the movie, he directed the movie, scored the movie. He did it all. Wrote the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Uncanny. And I did actually, just before this show, I did chat to him. I did a little interview of him and spoke to him all about the film. So we're going to release that as a bonus episode. I think around about early next week, because I think the film's available on demand on the 15th of February in the UK. I think it's available everywhere else. So the US is available now to watch Satyr. So yeah, we'll put that episode out on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel around that. It was great to talk to him. Great to hear about everything that went into the movie. It's quite a personal film. It's taken him 7 years to make, but it really does sort of capture something about this modern folk horror that we've seen in the last few years with things like The Witch and It Comes at Night and stuff like that. These quiet, understated horror movies that don't necessarily rely on jump scares, and they rely more so on psychological and mental illness and various other things to get their scares. So yeah, I recommend it. It was good, very spooky, and a real passion project of the guy as well. So yeah, obviously there'll be more about that in the bonus episode. We go quite into depth about the making of the film and stuff, but yeah, cool. Enjoyed it.
Cool.
I watched Troll Hunter. I can't pronounce the director's name, but Troll Hunter is, I got it in Blu-ray because it's the kind of film I just knew I wanted to have in the collection, because I know I'm going to watch it a few times. The director's name is André Øvredal. He made this movie in Norway, and he's done a few things in Hollywood. Didn't he do... Oh, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. That's the one, which is a great film. Troll Hunter is maybe my favorite found footage movie. Have you seen it? Do you know what it is?
I haven't seen it, no.
Have you seen it, Ben?
Okay. Yeah, a long time ago. I think I saw it around probably the same year as it was released, which was 2011?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, about 10 years ago.
Something like that.
So it's set in Norway. It's about a group of kids who go to college who want to make a film about this poacher who goes into the wilderness of the Scandinavian mountains and countryside, and then you find out that he hunts trolls. And it's made on like quite a low budget, but it's just really well put together. It's quite tongue in cheek, but plays it super straight. And the trolls are just really good.
Absolutely massive.
Absolutely massive, yeah, monstrous, huge things.
Ugly.
I don't know. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. I'd recommend Troll Hunter to anyone really.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I'd like to watch it again. It does pose that question that how are these huge creatures like kaiju kind of like living out of sight? It's when you think about
it, doesn't it? The telephone poles. They're not for telephone communications. They're giant electric fences that keep trolls.
Okay,
and they had the
explains
footage.
it. Sounds good.
They had the footage of the Prime Minister of Norway actually saying that in like a real conversation. I think in real life he was probably saying it in a deadpan joke sort of way, but they used it in the film as if it was like,
Oh wow,
they're actually giant electric fences.
Just an interview, and he went, "I'm going to make a whole film based on that concept."
I think that maybe what happened. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man. Forgive me.
Oh, lovely. I've been for the PS4 Spider-Man, obviously.
Yeah.
I just started Miles Morales this week, and it's pretty much exactly the same as the other game, but like obviously you're Miles Morales and different enemies and different boss fights and that. It's cool. What about you, Ed? What have you been watching this week?
Well, nothing horror related, but we recently got Disney Plus. So I'm going down a 90s nostalgic rabbit hole. I watched Blank Check from 1994. That's basically like a product placement heavy movie, like where a kid basically gets hold of a blank check from like a criminal, and he just ends up like cashing like $1 million. But the movie hasn't really got like, he hasn't really got many friends, and it's kind of a sad like loner movie. He ends up buying all this stuff, putting it in this like sort of big house. I don't know how he gets all this for $1 million, but and he just enjoys all these kind of things in this house with one like chauffeur guy, and then he realizes that family is important at the end, and
there's a message.
Yeah. But it's quite a sad kind of shallow movie, really, because he hasn't got many. He has this big party, and they're only there because of the money and stuff. Like he creates this fake character so he can like cash checks and stuff called like Mr. Macintosh, because it's got a big Mac kind of like product placement.
Oh God!
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Amazing.
But it was very good fun though, and really sort of brought me back to that time of like going into like Toys R Us in the 90s and wanting everything in Toys R Us. And you kind of want to be that kid. There's a really odd bit in it though, which is really inappropriate now, which is where there's this woman that he likes in it, like who works in the bank, and she's like 20 odd. And there's a bit at the end where she kisses him on the lips, and he's like a little kid. And it's like, why? Why would you kiss this like 10-year-old on the lips?
It's like Big with Tom Hanks, isn't it? The fact that he that's got some odd stuff going on.
Doesn't he get with he's like a 10-year-old in a 25-year-old's body in a Hanks body, and and he gets to he gets with a girl.
You say he gets with a girl? What I mean, he just kisses her, right? Is that kind of it?
It's just a kiss, but it's like
what was the big referring to?
Kiss on the lips.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like films in like the 80s and 90s were trying to sort of play into these like childhood fantasies, which like imagine you had all the money in the world. Yeah, that'd be great. Imagine you had this woman who's 20 years old, and if she imagine you had a mermaid. Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Imagine you were Tom Hanks.
I mean, she says something like, call me up again in another 10 years, but it'd only be like 16 or something then, like.
Call me up again in every 5 years. Well, still won't be of age. Well,
say hello.
I also watched Flubber from 1997.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's got like the special effects are really good for 97 actually. some of the like the goo effects that are kind of like there's a one massive scene I've shared on my stories where like there's a massive routine that the goo does, and like it's like a big dance routine, and that looks amazing. But I realised that they didn't really care about like dialogue in 90s movies, because every character says stuff that's like really like weak, and yet they try and kind of dress it up with music, like a nice bit of score under it. It's like telling you how to emote to this line. It's like, no, I know that's a bad line. You're not fooling me.
Is it a good Robin Williams performance? Because
he does have one scene where he emotes like, and he gets dead sad. You know, he has that in pretty much every movie, doesn't he? There's one scene where he's like, you know, you can see the tear running down, and he's like really sad, and he's like, you're right there with him, you know.
Yeah.
But Buffalo Bill is in it as well, isn't he? A nice segue from Silence of the Lambs.
He is.
He's like the Is he the main bad guy, or just one of the heavies?
He's one of the henchmen. Yeah. But
And
he
if I
talks
remember
exactly like Buffalo Bill there. I think that's his normal voice, though, isn't it?
You fuck me, flubber. You fuck me, flubber. I'd fuck me, flubber. Isn't there a bit where he ends up like having a bit of flubber bouncing him up and down for like eternity? Is it something like that? Because the flubber gets put into some sort of spray, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just loads of like crazy stuff going on. But I realised that Robin Williams' character in it, he's not likable at all. He's like this scientist obsessed with his work that he even misses his wedding day. That he's so obsessed with his work, and like, and the wife is like a really one-note character anyway. But like, he eventually wins her back by
who plays the wife?
The wife is Marcia. Is it Marcia Gay Harden from The Mist? So the scary like scary religious creep from The Mist. She's the wife. Yeah, I remember not believing their even as a kid, even as a 13-year-old kid, I didn't believe their relationship was legit. I'd miss my wedding day.
And I also watch. I did a bit of research because I did a video lately on top 10 80s cars and vehicles from TV shows and movies. So I did looking into a few of those, and I watched some bits for. It was an episode of The A-Team with Boy George in it. You know?
What?
I don't think I've ever seen The A-Team. I think I saw a clip of them shooting cabbages at people, and I thought, this isn't for me.
Cabbages.
Well, there's a bit. I think Boy George was absolutely massive at that particular time, and he liked the A-Team, so he wanted to be in it. Because there's a bit where he's just like he gets to drive the A-Team van in one scene, and for some reason he's like a master locksmith, like Boy George, and he can like unlock any door. And the plot in the episode is just like misunderstanding. It's like this bar, like, hire Cowboy George. And he's like, oh, you're supposed to be Cowboy George. No, not Boy George. And it's all this kind of weird stuff.
He's a master locksmith.
Yeah, he's the master of unlocking. I thought that title was safe for Jill Valentine.
Good old Boy George. I'm going to Google that now, actually. Boy George, A-Team. Good times.
Oh, another bit that actually, I've got to tell you this bit as well, because he... when he's introduced to the A-Team, usually B.A. Baracus, Mr. T, is like really sort of serious and tough guy. You know, he's like Mr. T. But when he meets Boy George, he goes all happy and he's like, Boy George, like that.
Just a really, really
breaks
big
character.
fan.
At that point, he's like Mr. T fanboy. He's not B.A. Baracus.
Wow.
I love it.
It's pretty amazing.
This looks great. This is
That's
like a
about
time capsule of the 80s right there.
So what other cars are you talking, like the Ghostbusters car, Back to the Future car, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I'm not
Okay.
going to reveal my list, Luke.
Oh, sorry.
You have to watch it out, but yeah.
I just wanted to
Like,
tempt people.
It can be supercars, you know, like your Knight Rider, and you know, Street Hawk, like motorcycle, or it could be kind of like vehicles in cars that kind of mean something, like, you know, to the character or whatever. It doesn't have to be a supercar. Some of my picks were like, you know, a certain car in a movie that is important that I liked, things like that. It's a mix of things, but all 80s stuff.
Cool.
So that's on the Enigmatic Productions YouTube.
There you go.
We'll stick all that stuff in the show notes, all the little linkies to the Enigmatic YouTube and trash tapes and all that stuff.
Cool. So, 45 minutes in, should we start talking about the film?
Yeah.
I'm done, mate. To be fair, I'm done. Which of those segments from the start of the show should we remove in order to make the show more streamlined? Horror news, just get rid of that. You know, no one wants that anymore. No one's interested. In real life horror should stay no matter what. Okay, but today we're talking about American Psycho. So, American Psycho is a year 2000 American black comedy slasher film, co-written and directed by Mary Harron, based on Bret Easton Ellis's 1991 novel of the same name. It stars Christian Bale, Willem Dafoe, Jared Leto, Josh Lucas, Chloë Sevigny, Justin Theroux. I mean, the cast is stacked, and Reese Witherspoon. Sorry, that's one big one. A wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, although we don't really ever see him doing any real work, do we? Hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his co-workers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent hedonistic fantasies.
Yeah. Reviews here, we've got IMDb at 7.6. Rotten Tomatoes is 70% critic score, 85% user score. Letterboxd is sitting just below a 4 at a 3.9. Some choice reviews here. Roach Emil put, this movie fucking suck. Half a star.
That's
Silent
first class.
Yeah, this movie fucking suck. Didn't even put sucks. It just sucked. It did a single suck. Silent Dawn put Christian Bale deserved an Oscar. So quotable, so funny, so twisted, so delirious, so amazing. Sorry this review is so short. I have to return some videotapes. 4.5 stars. So he was well into it. Lusky kind. What a shit. Seriously, there's nothing good about movie. Ridiculous how he gets away with it every time. Half a star.
He gets away with it every time. Someone catch this guy.
I feel like they really kind of got what the film was getting at the end there. Yeah, I mean, American Psycho, it's quite a big one. I don't know why, but I think maybe I watched it a long time ago and didn't really click with it. I didn't read the book. It was never a big one for me. So this was quite a nice way to sort of rediscover it. Is it one of your guys' favourites or not too keen?
I saw it around about the time, maybe a couple of years after it came out, and I remember people talking about it, like, oh, it's kind of creepy, but it's funny at the same time. It's got a weird tone and stuff like that. So I watched it, and I quite enjoyed it back then, but I didn't get what kind of message it was kind of trying to convey, like, at the time. Now, if I watching it now, I think it's aged really well, or either that or I understand it better now. And yeah, so watching it recently, a couple of days ago, really enjoyed it a lot more than when I first saw it back in the day.
Yeah. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I've always had a lot of love for this film. I wanted to cover it on this podcast, especially this month, because it's Women in Horror Month for February. And I thought we haven't really covered enough movies directed by women on this podcast, so it was nice to cover this one. And I thought this was a good choice because the book is one that I read, in my late teens, around about the time when I was reading a lot of stuff like Fight Club, and movies were being made of these films, and I was kind of like worshipping these psychopathic like male characters in movies and thinking, yeah, they're killing people, but they're doing it for a good reason. Do you know what I mean? Just like a little bit skewed in terms of my view of it. And the book is notoriously thought of as quite gross and a little bit misogynistic, and almost the gratuitous violence is almost like a bit too much. So I think it's got a lot of good messages in the book as well, in terms of, it's a parody of genres, but it's also a parody of a certain type of man in the 80s. So I think what Mary Harron has done with the film is she gives it this whole different side to what is essentially like a really engrossing story of a man and who's losing his mind in one way or another, whichever way you take it. I mean, I think it's quite obvious come the end what is happening. But yeah, I've always appreciated, and I think I have to agree with Ed that it has aged really well. Like, I probably haven't seen it for a fair few years, but I almost kind of like enjoyed it more this time. I kind of, all of those little I mean, I was laughing loads. I was like shocked and just like, God, I don't remember that bit. And oh my God, that is ridiculous. And especially the cast, you know, when people pop up in it, you're like, oh wait, that's her, isn't it? That's him. And it's just a really good, enjoyable movie to watch. And obviously, I think when it was released in the year 2000, because of the title of it, people kind of just thought it was going to be an updated version of Psycho, even though this is what, 1 year after the remake? Is that right? 1 or 2 years after the Psycho remake with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember thinking that when it was released, or just after, because I probably didn't see it on release. I probably saw it a little bit after that, but I remember thinking it was like an updated version of that Psycho, you know, perhaps a similar sort of story, but taking someone who's living with his mum or his dead mum in a motel and a house and putting it into like Wall Street, New York, something like that. But yeah, it couldn't be further from that, really. And I think it's a really unique and quite terrifying movie.
Yeah, Christian Bale, he plays the role. I mean, it's kind of over the top, but I think that's kind of the point. It's the tone of the film. He matches it pretty perfectly. He looks like a kind of a Grecian god at times. Like, that's not a real body. Surely they photoshopped his face onto the sculpture that's come to life.
Well, he did a lot of hard work to get that body. Like, he does.
I've done hard work before, and I didn't have.
He does some crazy stuff to his body, though. He's proper method Bale, isn't he?
Yeah.
He gets right into it. Yeah, he really fought for this role, you know. He was really fought tooth and nail. Like, a lot of the other people, he wasn't well known at the time. And he was like, other people who were approaching, like Ewan McGregor even approached, but he convinced Ewan McGregor not to go for it because he wanted it. And
it's gonna be Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio was the first choice, apparently.
He could have done it good, I think. But yeah, I don't know. He would have good. The only thing is, Leonardo DiCaprio is a little bit too likable. Christian Bale is just that like dislikable enough for me to be kind of like, I don't know, a little bit scared of him. Leonardo DiCaprio,
especially after hearing his like Terminator Salvation on-set rant, you know he's a little bit, possibly a little bit unhinged, maybe from starring in this film. Maybe that helped.
Yeah.
And just his voice, like his voiceover stuff in this, I think is some of my favorite parts of the movie. Like when he's just talking about his morning routine and his
I love that.
Skincare routine and stuff. Yeah, and that the way that's bookended like that, and then he's got a lot of voiceover at the end as well. I think it's perfect, because sometimes voiceover can get a little bit tedious, can it, in a movie? It can overwhelm things. Really like I love it.
But I think it gives films like a literary quality, which, because it's an adaptation, it works well. But I was going to say, like the direction, like Mary Harron's direction, or maybe it's the director of photography, I don't know, but it seems so well put together, like so professionally done. Like it seems so assured. I think that's why it's aged so well, because you watch it, I was kind of shocked that it was 2000. So the year 2000, it seems way more recent than that to me. I don't know. It just seems really well put together.
Really well shot, really well edited. They did lots of interesting things with the edit, apparently, like Willem Dafoe, his character.
He's got a great character as well.
Yeah, she got him to perform his scenes three different ways. One where he knew that Bale was guilty. One that he wasn't sure.
That's cool.
He didn't know. So, and then they mixed them up in the edit, which is great.
Yeah,
that's good, because that kind of makes you a little bit. That increases the tension, I guess, of that scene. Makes you think, so he's gonna catch him. He's gonna get him.
Yeah.
Soundtrack's great as well, like all the choices of songs as well, which sometimes there's a really sinister, horrible moment, and it'll just cut to like a scene of New York, and like Walking on Sunshine will be playing.
Is the music stuff in the book? Is all like
I think I'm pretty sure he talks about music and stuff in the book. He talks about his music. It's a bit like, obviously it's supposed to be like a juxtaposition to his character.
Yeah.
Where he just goes, "I bloody love Whitney Houston."
He does
he
like
goes on about
a review. He like does like a proper
Yeah.
critics review of the
It's
piece.
like he does a critics review just before he's about to do a homicide. And
Yeah.
it's like gets him in the mood.
I found that really creepy though, because it's like he's just read a music review.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he's just reciting it as he's remembered it perfectly, rather than him being. It's like very cold, isn't it?
It's just
not
that weird dance as well. You know what I mean?
It's
just
like
before he acts as
somebody.
Jared Leto, he does that kind of I don't know, shimmy or something.
That's what
Somebody
he's
who has-
bobbing to Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis.
Yeah, yeah.
But the music is where all the money went, you know. It's only got a $7 million budget, and like all the licensing went on the music of the massive songs.
No way.
Yeah. It works,
I think
though.
like that sort of kind of makes me feel like he's got no personality, and he's not human, and he doesn't know to act human. So he's reciting all these pop culture things and his pop culture references. He's put on his skin suit, and he's trying to convince everybody around him that, you know, I'm just a normal guy.
That's a perfect introduction to the character when he's wearing a face, like a skin care face mask. He's like peeling his face away and saying, I'm empty, I'm vacant, I'm not even here.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Good stuff, man.
So that's how the film starts, right? It starts with him talking about his beautification routine, his Gautier suits or whatever.
His suits, his apartment, all the trendy restaurants he goes to. So he's like, it's set in 1987. He's like a yuppie, New York investment banker, and pretty much everyone he associates with and everyone who's surrounded him is the same sort of person. They're all just like these shallow, money and how they look driven people. And he pretty much hates them all as well. Like he never tries to, even his fiance Evelyn, who's played by Reese Witherspoon, she's almost like an inconvenience to him. It's like he has to have a fiance or a girlfriend to keep up appearances, but he would rather just not bother with all that stuff. And it does kind of beg the question, like, well, why is he then? But I guess it's the lifestyle he needs to adhere to in order to be able to do his murders.
Yeah, there's a bit where his fiance says they're in the taxi and he's listening to like Robert Palmer, like Dead Loud. She's like distracting him. And she says, why do you even keep that job? You don't even like it. And he goes, because I want to fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he says it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, to me, I read that as like, he needs that mask, you know? Because like, like a, you know, like a normal kind of businessman type thing, or, you know, he doesn't want people to know that he's crazy, kind of thing. It's
almost like if he just keeps that job and fits in with everybody else and essentially becomes just one of many, where everyone's the same, everyone goes to the same restaurants, everyone does the same things, he's more likely. And I mean, obviously it is a parody on these ideas, and it does kind of set it up for that, and it is kind of obvious, but that's how, even when it comes to the point where he's like, because obviously people keep getting his name wrong, he gets other people's name wrong, no one seems to know who everybody is, even to the point where when he starts to like confess to his crimes, people are like, what, you're this guy and you're that guy, what, who, nah, but Bateman.
Well, that's why it's kind of interesting, because it's like when they're thinking, like, people are saying, oh, he gets away with everything, but everyone's confusing everyone for someone else, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
also, it will come up anyway, but so Paul Allen, that's the guy's name. He's pretty sure he killed Paul Allen, but I was thinking, was that even Paul Allen? Like he could have confused him with someone else, and Paul Allen was in London. It's
trying to make out that Paul Allen's confusing Bateman for somebody else. But yeah, it's pretty easy to just make that jump now to think, well, what if you're confusing Paul Allen? Nobody's who they say they are, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're all just these suits, slick back hair, and nice business cards. That's all they are.
Did you ever read the book The Psychopath Test by John Ronson?
No,
it's really good.
I am aware of it. Yeah,
there's like a proper test that you can do, and if you score so high, it means you're a psychopath. You don't feel empathy for other people. And they're saying in the book they point to the fact that people who operate at very high levels in Wall Street or businesses tend to be psychopaths. Like they tend to flourish in those kind of worlds. So this film does kind of tap into that. Those people handling all that money, like wealth, investment funds, and Wall Street stockbrokers and that kind of thing. A lot of them probably would. I mean, not to this extent, killing people and whatnot, but a lot of them probably would be kind of psychopathic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I read that, you know, like the beauty routine he's got, that's like inspired like blogs and stuff of how to replicate that routine, and like people doing videos and like, why would you want to be like Patrick Bateman in that respect? Like,
he has great skin.
Yeah.
Does have great skin.
But like exact, so you're actually copying that exact, like, say, American Psycho routine. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? People don't care as long as it's good
and
skin.
then you go out and kill someone. What?
You look great. You're glowing. Yeah, fantastic. It's the Bateman routine. Yeah. Obviously, there isn't much about. There's nothing about his past or his upbringing or no origin story of Patrick Bateman at all. But I don't. Do you guys really understand like what his end goal is? Whether it's to just keep killing randomly, just to satisfy these short-term urges, or is there like is there something bigger at play? Because it's hard
I just
to tell,
think I think he's trying to. I mean, it's open to discussion, isn't it? But I think he's just trying to fit in and succeed within that world. And he also has these urges to kill, which grow and grow. And I mean, my reading of it is that it is all mostly in his head. And those urges are sort of playing out in his imagination. But yeah, I don't know if he has any plan.
It is very much fantasy, especially towards the end. Some ridiculous stuff happens. I don't know if I won't talk about it now because we're going to get to it. We're kind of going back and forth a bit, aren't we? Like with the,
yeah.
But like, there are some really fantastical elements towards the end that are definitely fantasy, and like from his perspective, like it's definitely a world from his perspective.
So I think there are a few happenings throughout the film where you do think, is this really happening or is it real? I mean, it must be real, you know, you kind of feel like that. But then it does get to a point where it cuts off and you go, well, surely it isn't real. But then that begs the question, like, is some of it real? Maybe some of it is, some of it isn't. It's kind of like, it's never sort of 100% clear.
I think the movie cleverly, like, because when you've got a protagonist like that, who's a really nasty guy, I think the movie cleverly, like, balances him out with like you hate him and then you like him again with comedy, because the comedy is like the comic relief makes you like him again. You'll do some horrible things, but then there'll be a comedic scene. Oh, I know, I like you again. I'll follow you. Now.
Yeah,
I'll follow what you're doing.
Comedic scenes are just like because he's doing or saying something that's so ridiculous in the context of the movie. You're just like, well, how is no one calling him out on this, or how is he not being picked up to be a nutcase? You know. That's kind of that's what the comedy is for me, like just what is happening.
Yeah.
So quite early on there's the business card bit where they're all in like a little meeting, and they're all kind of showing off their business. I think we first introduced to Paul Allen here. Paul Allen's, I think, confuses Patrick Bateman for someone else. I can't remember who he thinks he is.
I think he calls him something, and kind of Patrick, even though I think at some point his Reese Witherspoon hears him calling him the wrong name, and he kind of like just changes the subject really quickly. Like he can't bring himself to correct him because that would like break this sort of unwritten rule that they've got of kind of respect, but also like hatred for each other, I guess.
He likes the fun of like going along with it as well, doesn't he? I think. Yeah. It's ending, but that would be quite funny. This is like the big scene, isn't it? I think of the movie that everyone remembers and everyone sort of talks about, the business card scene. It's an interesting one. It's like it's relatable in a weird way, because it's like you know when you're like in school. And like you had to have everyone had a particular type of trainers that you had or something, or like we used to like school shoes. We used to wear a particular brand, Kickers. Remember Kickers? And everyone wore the school and you'd come. Oh, I've got a new pair of like Kickers, and like someone would say, "Oh, that's not quite the newest pair, though, is it?" It's like the last like one, and then you see someone rolls into school and they've got the latest pair, and like everyone's like, "Oh, they're amazing." And like it reverts back to that kind of schoolyard kind of. It's like ridiculous because obviously all the kind of thing. It's ridiculous because all the cards are pretty much
They look so
almost
similar.
identical, look so similar. But when you look at one and you look at another, you go, "Oh no, not that one." Like you kind of do understand that ridiculous pernickety, like all in the small details of that font. The kerning on that font is kind of off. Gold leaf, perfect.
But I think we get the impression that everyone's kind of playing that one-upmanship, but Patrick starts to like sweat, like because his isn't the best anymore. Like he's physically started to like get uncomfortable about it.
Because that one-upmanship for him is like the very politics of his existence. Like being the biggest, the baddest, the best is something that he like strives for. So as soon as someone struts in with a slightly better business card for him, he's like, "Oh my god, I look like an absolute idiot." Maybe that dials into his fear of like that mask, the metaphorical mask he discusses at the start. Maybe it bleeds into that actually slipping, and he's kind of worried about they're going to see me for a fraud if they think my business card's a load of shit.
They've got they've got those like snazzy metal cases, haven't they? And well, the sound design makes them kind of go when they open them. It's like taking like a sword out of a sheath or something, isn't it? It's like it's really cool. Like everything plays a part in that scene. It's really
basically good. Just a dick swinging contest, isn't it?
That
is all it is.
So I think around here he's on his way home and he kills a homeless man and a homeless man's dog, right?
Well, that's because of the rage from the business card scene.
Is that what it? Oh, okay, yeah.
But earlier on in the movie, he's talking about, in front of his friends, he's talking about how we should really care about the homeless.
Like,
when he's saying exactly,
he reels out like a whole list of like
fix the world.
Yeah.
That is just like narcissism at its like.
But everyone else has to say, "Oh, that's so thoughtful," just because they can't say it's not like it. That wouldn't keep up with appearances.
I honestly feel like I could really connect to this. I feel like I know people like this who on their, I'm not going to call anyone out by name, but on their social media, they're all like, "Oh, come on, guys, we've got to be so understanding of social injustice and all these things." But then I think, I know you in real life, and I've heard you say some awful shit. But on social media, people are commenting
like that. Yeah,
people are commenting on social media, going, "You're so right. Can I share this? Can you make it shareable? Because I want to share this. I'll go ahead." And I just think, oh my god, and I could really understand that. Then that kind of like added to my like disenchantment for the whole thing. I was just like, "Oh, Patrick, you're letting yourself down here."
Yeah,
saying what he wants people to hear, I guess.
What do you guys think about the homeless stabbing? That is a horrible scene. I think it makes me feel sick. Gruesome. It's like
it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible, and it gets worse when he like stomps the dog. Like, but I mean, he is not a human being. Like I think it just drills home that point that like he's a psychopathic monster. Like he doesn't feel empathy in the way normal people do. But it is weird because he kind of feigns concern for the homeless person before he stabs him. I think he gets like a briefcase. It looks like he's going to get him some snacks out.
Do you think that's part of his routine, or do you think that at first he's thinking he just wants to talk to him, or like not in a normal way, and then he kind of
I think he's kind of like, it's like this predatory thing he's got where he kind of feigns this care so he can get close to them, so he can get close enough to like sink his fangs in. And that's kind of what he does with women throughout it as well. The book has got some really like, it's weird because like some of the book is just like pages and pages and pages of the most like descriptive, violent, disgusting, horrible stuff, and then you turn the next page and like he's going for dinner with somebody. You know, it's just like, it's almost like this film does that a little bit. But obviously it's far less intense.
Yeah, because as I said earlier about like the contrasts like of making you like him again, because this is like a horrible scene. You hate like Bateman at this point, but then the whole you don't really like Paul Allen, do you? And like it builds up to the murder of Paul Allen. That the hip to be square murdering Paul Allen makes you love Bateman again, doesn't it? It's like you're just having a great time at that point. So you forget about the homeless stabbing by that point.
He did what? He murdered who? Not interested. It's like because Paul Allen got his name wrong, you're kind of in the headspace of Bateman by thinking, oh, he got my name wrong, so he's clearly a self-involved idiot, so he deserves to get an axe to his face, when really we're not actually thinking about the fact that maybe Bateman's even getting him wrong. Does he even say at any point Paul Allen to him? I don't even know.
I don't know. Plus, Paul Allen is like getting table bookings at casually getting table bookings at that, what's it called, like Dorsia, yeah, Dorsia, that's the one. And he might be faking that as well, in the same way that Patrick Bateman.
Where do they go? They go to like Chiquitos or something.
It looks like a Chiquitos, yeah.
He deliberately goes there because none of his friends will be there, and he won't see them because he's kind of grooming him to kill him, isn't he? Like in a weird way. Yeah. So no one's there, and he's getting him drunk so he can get him back to his apartment. And he's Paul Allen's like totally out of it, like this, like
he's like, you've rolling around. What are newspapers doing on the floor? Have you got a dog? Is that a raincoat? Like he doesn't make the connection at any point that I might be in trouble here. He just thinks, oh, I suppose you wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, and he's doing his review of like the album with Hip to Be Square in it. It's like, I think it's called Sports or something by Huey Lewis in the News. And he's doing a review, it's because it's the most poppiest album and he's loving it. He's earlier work swings the axe.
He does.
Oh, and then he lets out his aggression, like he says, what did he say? Like, you get my name wrong now, or something like that. As he's ripping the axe out of his face. Yeah, it's like his mask that he wears in every day is not. There's not too far a distance between that and this like utter raging murder.
Easy to make that jump, almost like you remember when Bruce Banner in the Avengers says, "I'm always angry," and he immediately switches to the Hulk like that.
I'm always.
It's like you think he's in control of it, but what's that?
He's like always murdering people in his head. Yeah.
I'm always murdering people in my head, so he can make that switch instantly, and almost like he kind of calms down, takes off the raincoat, sits down. There, I'm out. I wouldn't take off the raincoat straight away. He's already got blood on his face. We could drip down onto his. But then he doesn't care about taking bloodstained things to a dry cleaners, does he?
Yeah.
It's cranberry sauce.
There's this cranberry just spilled some cranberry juice in my bed. Yeah, and I think this is the first moment where you think, surely this can't be real, because he drags Paul Allen's body like in a massive bag past the like guard of his building, like with a big blood streak, and then chucks it in the boot of his. It's not his car, is it? It's just a cab, isn't it?
It's a cab, and then his friends come past. Yeah, and he's putting his body in the back in the trunk, and like one of them says like, "Where did you get that overnight bag?"
yeah. That
it's
guy
like Jean-Paul Gaultier.
is Lewis.
Yeah, he answers him as well, and he does answer him. He don't get
Yeah.
You know that was actually a Jean-Paul Gaultier bag as well.
Was it? He says, I like it how the guy goes, "Is that you, Patrick?" And he goes, "No, it's not." He just says, "No, it's not." Oh, you're thinking he got. Oh,
yeah.
That was
so that was Lewis, who is a kind of strange guy who seems to like Patrick. The next day or something around there, Lewis has a new business card, and it's the best one yet. That's in a different colour font. The font's like brown or something.
It looked like it had a bit of gold leaf going on. And to be fair, I felt a bit jealous of that business card in that moment.
You're sweating. Ben, are you okay? Just
sweat bullets.
Is this the one where he goes like, "It even had a watermark"?
Yeah.
And then he goes into the bathroom to kill him. I think most of the stuff is in his head. I think this actually happens. He goes into the bathroom, and it's like his fantasies is coming out to a certain degree. Something's coming out, and he goes to strangle him from behind. But then Lewis like kisses his hand. He says, "I've seen you looking at me. I'm looking at you too," and whatever. And then Patrick wilts.
Bateman's like kind of disgusted at this point, but then again, that macho alpha male sort of thing is something that he's continually trying to sort of keep for everybody else to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does kind of panic. I thought he was maybe still going to kill him, but he didn't, did he? So yeah, we didn't mention the fact that he tries to cover up Alan's disappearance, or so he goes to the apartment. He packs a load of his clothes, takes them, and then he leaves like a answer phone message, which he doesn't really try to do a voice or anything, does he? He kind of just goes, "I'm going to London." Just
it's his regular voice, pretty much.
It's just his regular voice, yeah. "Hi, this is Patrick Bateman. Maybe it's Paul Allen." Oh shit! Oh fuck! Delete. So
around about this point in the movie as well, there's a bit where he's in his office and he's listening to Lady in Red by Chris Berg, and he's totally absorbing Lady in Red. Like, he's totally immersed. He's like, face is like going like, yeah, he's just like really like in that world of Lady in Red, and it's so like sickening.
All been there. All been there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like around about this time, like I think it is a couple of days later, I think, is when a private detective, Donald Kimball, played by Willem Dafoe, turns up. He's been hired by Paul Allen's girlfriend. Is that right?
Yeah. Is he a PI?
He's a PI, yeah.
Okay.
So I think he like is a former police officer. Is that right? I think he mentions that at some point. But it's a really weird, the way he's kind of questioning. I mean, what you said just now, Ed, kind of makes sense. The fact that sometimes he questions things like he kind of suspects Bateman, and other times he says things he doesn't seem like he suspects him at all, and it does kind of switch line by line. Sometimes he's like quite pally with him, and it's almost like wants to be his mate.
It was a clever choice, I think, to get him to do the scenes 3 different ways. Because where the audience are totally confused about it. In some scenes, I think, oh, he definitely knows. He knows.
Yeah.
Like, oh, does he though? And later on, you kind of like, it's great. It keeps you guessing.
I like the way he kind of is quite Columbo. Some of the things he does, where he's like, "Where were you this day?" And he sort of says, he goes, "Oh, really? I've got something different." Gets out his little note.
I think you're misremembering or something like that. Yeah, he makes people squirm. Yeah.
Good style.
Yeah, because he gets Huey Lewis out, doesn't he? He gets the CD out, and like as if he knows he was listening to that music when he killed Paul.
Why does Patrick, when he says, "I've got this new album," Huey Lewis in the news, says, "Do you like them?" And then he says, "No, I don't listen to music with vocals or something." Like, it's almost like he's disgusted.
Oh, he says something really racist, doesn't he? He says
he doesn't like black music.
Huey's too black sounding for me because he's a white guy. He thinks he sounds black. Yeah. So
he's just trying to distance himself, isn't he? In as extreme a way as possible, so that he's not connected to that murder in any way, even like a minimal way, as like what music was playing. He's trying to just disconnect from that.
Yeah.
Must be really painful for him because he really loves Huey Lewis.
His leg starts tapping under the table. He's like, "No, don't even pretend you like it.
I can't do it. I love him."
Walks away.
I love him, and I killed Paul Allen. Right? I take it. Oh, I haven't got handcuffs, but come on.
We didn't mention the scene with the 2 prostitutes.
I think that's next. I think that happens next.
Okay. So he picks up a hooker, I believe is a street term. I wouldn't know. And
the lady doth protest too much, Luke.
And he says, "You are Christina, I'm Paul Allen," and he picks someone else, or gets someone else who's not. Yeah, he's like completely control of every single element.
Yeah.
And
initially, I was like, "Oh, he's getting somebody from the street because he wants to like not have any connection to or any paper trail or communication trail." But then he also seems to get like a high class escort as well.
Yeah. It's a weird scenario. He's like filming it, and when they're doing the sex stuff, he's only really bothered about himself.
Himself.
There was a funny line that I probably may not say here, but it's about eating bums. They're really shocked.
Don't just look at it, eat it. Yeah.
This is the iconic. Do you like Phil Collins? It's that scene, isn't it? He turns he puts Phil Collins on to have sex. Like, you see sex music, Phil Collins. But when he turns it on, Bale's performance in that scene is absolutely hilarious. Because as he turns around, like to camera almost, he's asking the audience if they like Phil Collins, but he's got a massive grin while he's saying the line. And he's asking the audience, well, I don't know. I like some of his albums. You kind of want to answer it.
I didn't like Genesis. They're a bit too artsy for me. But in their latest album, Phil Collins really came into his own. They're so like awkward from it, aren't they? They're just like, oh, God.
So I didn't. There's a scene at the very, like, it seems like all of the board, he pays them. But then there's a bit at the end, he goes to a drawer and gets out a coat hanger. And you never see what he does with it. The next scene, when he drops off the women, they were like quite calm and seemed to be cared for to some degree. But then one of them's got a bloody nose for some reason.
You just don't see that, but he obviously did some nasty stuff to him and just let him go.
Yeah, because when he tries to pick up the girl he names Christy again later, the prostitute, when he goes on the street to find her again, she tells him that she had to go to the emergency room after last time, and he's like, it's not going to be like last time. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, if anything, they got off lightly on this occasion.
Well, maybe if the killing part is in his head, like maybe he's still sort of being abusive in real life. I don't know. I mean, it walks that fine line that you never really know what's in his head and what's real. But yeah, that kind of shook me a little bit. Just the cut. They seemed quite calm and nice. And then he goes to the drawer, pulls out a coat hanger, and then he drops them off, and their energy is like
drawer looks
changed.
So like
it's a man drawer,
horrible
batteries.
Keep dead about
you think about all the cold, clean surfaces of his apartment, and this drawer just looks like you put your hand in there, you'd need a tetanus like injection, because it just looks like there's so many horrible rusty blades and disgusting tools and that. It's almost like his secret, don't look in that drawer please, like his Alan Partridge drawer from when Alan lives in the in the hotel. Don't look in there.
Yeah, everything's immaculate, because like even in his like his office, when Willem Dafoe earlier was kind of like he's asking, do you want a mineral water? Have a water like that. And I don't want anything. He gets the assistant to bring in the water. She's about to put it on the desk, and he quickly, like as fast as anything, puts a coaster under it. Like really. Yeah. But I was right with him there actually. I've got to have a coaster down. Yeah. The most annoying thing, right, is when you give someone a drink and there's a coaster there, and they put the drink down next to the coaster, not actually on the coaster. What is there? It's right there. Put it on the coaster.
I think I might be guilty of that. I do it, and then I realise I've done it, and I go, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Coaster's right there.
I need to introduce coasters into my life. They're not present at the minute.
Overrated, I'd say. Sorry, Ed. Sorry.
We've got two. I've got two. I can see two right from where I am now. And I've got two in my office. I've got two in the living room. There's two in the bedroom.
I
need to put one in the
Patrick Bateman situation on our hands here.
Oh God. Got to return some videotape. He does something similar with his receptionist when she comes to his apartment a little bit later. He gives her some ice cream. No, it's not ice cream, is it? It's like
sorbet.
Sorbet, yeah, sorry. And she goes to put the spoon down on the table, and he goes, "Put the spoon back in the." I
mean, that makes more sense to me. Like, just put it in the tub.
If you've licked it clean now, it's fine, isn't it? You can go anywhere.
Yeah. This is around about the time. This time in the movie, he starts saying, "I have to return some videotapes," and that becomes like an iconic line that he says.
Is it a couple of times, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he says it from this sort of point onwards, and he says it a few times. And it's like he's getting a bit more sloppy, and he's kind of can't think of a good alibi of situation, and he kind of just says that to everyone.
It's a good excuse, because I think everyone goes, oh, yeah, it's probably best. You don't want late fees. Everyone understands. It's almost like when the excuse no one questions is when you like say, I had a bit of diarrhea. You go, okay, fair enough. See you later. Go, whatever you got to do. That's his version of that. Yeah. Also some videotapes. We do see the kind of videos he's watching, so it looks like it's either porn or horror movies.
Yeah, there's a bit where he's like frantically doing stomach crunches while Texas Chainsaw Massacre is on in the background. That's a really good image, actually.
He's like talking. He's talking to his fiance as well while porn's on quite loud, like in the background.
I like the way that's his background viewing. Like he's not even watching it. He's just like.
He looks up and just goes, yeah, fair enough.
The scene with his receptionist, it's like they're going to go on a date, but I think he's thinking, I'm going to kill you. She's thinking, I'm going to get to go on a date with Patrick Bateman. And they're having like, it's really palpable. They're having kind of two conversations. He's saying, I think you should leave because I might hurt you. She's thinking that he means like emotionally. And I think even he holds up a nail gun to her head at one point, which is sucking on the sorbet. And
she turned around at that moment. What would you say if he's decided I'm not going to kill her, and then she just turns around?
I'd say it's a Nerf gun.
A Nerf gun. I'll prove it.
Because she's like such an innocent character, though, having him not kill her allows the audience to still like Bateman, because it's like, if he killed her, you'd really hate him, wouldn't you? Because she's she's a lamb to the slaughter, isn't she? She's really sort of fragile character, and it's good that he doesn't kill her, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think from here on things get a bit mental, right? So he goes back to goes to Christie again, says it won't be like last time, and then he goes to Paul Allen's apartment, and there's a woman there, an ex-girlfriend or something. The one we read, I don't understand what.
It's kind of like an ex-girlfriend, like an fling, or someone he kind of knew before, because he kind of starts saying sexual things, and she's a bit like, oh, don't be crude or something. So it's almost like they haven't got like that sexual past or anything. It's almost like just somebody that he's decided. I think just before this, Kimball meets Bateman again and takes him for lunch and says, "You're not under suspicion in Alan's disappearance," which is a nice thing to hear, right? Well, I'd be like, all right, don't just leave me alone then.
Yeah.
And you could tell, but I think you can tell that he's suspicious. And I think he even says that a colleague of Bateman's has seen Paul Allen in London, which is bringing the entire investigation under question.
Yeah. This I found this bit quite disturbing. So he's having a threesome with Christie and the girl again. They're under the covers, him and this other girl, and then there's like blood on the sheets for some reason. It doesn't really tell you anything about what's going on. Like it's just quite
something, isn't he? He's got it all over his face, and because I think before whoever he's with, I think is her name Elizabeth? I think the redhead woman. Yeah. I think he's going down on her, but then and she seems to be enjoying it. And then obviously he gets
and then he goes to like stabbing
away.
He goes from like he goes into like stabbing and then like the prostitute is kind of observing from outside like and she kind of starts running, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think she's gonna because she's been paid half. She's got that check. I think her plan is to just whilst they're busy, just leg it. Yeah.
Why does he get her to dress in like long gloves and like a chiffon scarf at some point?
Oh, to make her look less like a prostitute, right? To make her look more like a French.
Yeah, I guess so. I want you to look more French. Oh, no.
He just wants them both to be more like both high society kind of women, doesn't he? Like a match.
Yeah.
And this is like a take two of like earlier, isn't it? Because it's like there's two girls again, like in the same. One of them's the same prostitute.
Maybe he couldn't get back the escort from before because obviously she was like, "No fucking thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, he didn't get this one properly. But this is like complete flight of fancy now, right? The chainsaw comes out.
Yeah.
Bodies everywhere.
It's got to be because when Christie's running around the apartment and finding all these bodies, but she's running around banging on the doors of the other apartments on the same floor. Like the fact that no one is sort of alerted to that, or the fact that he's running around with a chainsaw and his little sneakers on. The fact that nobody comes out, you must know this at this point must be fantasy because surely someone would.
Yeah, it's like you're in sort of like David Lynch kind of fantasy kind of weird world by that point, aren't you? Like where it's all just his kind of like dream world. Because it's like interesting because he's watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre earlier and the audience sees that. And then later on, he's kind of acting out that fantasy, isn't he?
Yeah. And also, he managed to like drop a chainsaw
on her, like bang on, doesn't he? Like
which is like ludicrous.
Top of the staircase.
Yeah.
It is a good shot. At this point, he's kind of like in proper rage mode as well. He's kind of like screeching and roaring almost and laughing. Yeah, it's pretty scary because he's got like a really Christian Bale, something about his mouth, which I find quite scary in this film. Like it just goes from like just being, it's just so emotive. You can just see so many different emotions from just all this crazy stuff he's doing with his mouth. And it actually made me think in this particular moment that he would probably have been a good Joker.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Did you
the
know
Batman who laughs? That's what
did
they
you
call
know
that?
Hey,
They should do the Batman who laughs in a DC extended universe film and have him play him. Yeah.
Did you know that everyone thought Bale was American on set?
His accent is pretty spot on from what I can tell.
He was doing the American accent when they weren't filming.
That sounds like him.
And like
classic.
when in the after party, he went to his normal British voice, and they all thought that he was doing that for a new role that he was doing. His normal voice.
His normal voice is quite a strong, like English accent as well, right?
Yeah, it's a regular British, like London accent, isn't it?
I don't even reckon he knows, because I think I think he's Welsh, isn't he? Is he Welsh? Because in that Terminator Salvation thing, I don't know if because he was in character again, but he's even when he's like losing his temper and shouting at the lighting assistant or something, he's shouting in American. So I'm like, does he even know what accent he's got? He just doesn't know who he is anymore.
I think because he's a method actor, I think he just stays in character, like throughout higher production. Yeah,
that's cool. I like that.
Oh my god! Now I'm thinking about it. Looking at this picture, you know that it's quite a famous picture. Is him? He's like really wide-eyed. He's like like laughing with blood on his face.
Yeah,
that's the Batman who laughs. That that worked perfectly.
You've got like so many. Like he would make a great Joker. Willem Dafoe would have made a great Joker at pretty much any point in his career.
Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the examples I've got from this movie for good Jokers. Reese Witherspoon, sure she'd give it a crack.
Yeah. So he breaks it up with Reese Witherspoon in the next scene, I think. He breaks up the engagement. I don't know why.
Sad enough. Sad up to here.
Yeah. And that kind of sends him over the edge because then he starts seeing like the ATM machine is telling him to feed it a stray cat.
Yeah.
He starts shoot. He gets into a gunfight with some policemen and like shoots them, and then blows up the car. Like he just gets more and more ludicrous.
That is amazing. It's pure fun. The car is like made of dynamite, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny because he looks amazed as well. Like he's amazed at his own fantasy.
Yeah. He looks at the gun as if like, what the hell is this gun? Where did I get this from?
Yeah, and he just said that he's totally lost it now. He's running down the street just shooting everyone, isn't he? And shooting at cops, shooting at people in hotels.
Yeah. And then I think he thinks the game is up. So he goes to his office. He enters the wrong building first, doesn't he? He shoots a security guard and a janitor.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to his office, he calls his lawyer and basically leaves a massive long confession where he's just saying everything he's been doing. And at least he kind of like seems to understand the severity of the stuff he's been doing, because never at one point before this as he seemed to understand. But now he's like, I've killed so many people and I don't think I'm going to get away with it this time.
He says 20, 40. Like he just like doubles.
Yeah,
he has no idea.
Bale's performance in that seems really good, actually. There's a range of emotions, and he seems remorseful, which is great. It's the only point where he seems like, because when he says that he even like ate some of the people, like he ate some of their like flesh and stuff, and ate some of their brains. That was it.
Oh yeah, and the reveal that's funny.
He looks like he does like a face like he's going to be sick a little bit as the thought of just saying that. And it's quite an interesting, remorseful kind of moment that he has.
I'm pretty sure it's one take as well, isn't it? Like his whole confession. It seems,
yeah.
I was impressed by that.
Yeah. So the next day, he's at that pub, that gentleman's club, wherever they go to, and he finds the lawyer.
When he goes to Alan's apartment first, doesn't he? To potentially clean up everything he's been doing, like bodies and everything. He goes there, even puts a little mask on, expecting it to just absolutely stink of rotten flesh. But no,
Yeah.
Empty. It's empty, and even there's like a woman showing some potential tenants or buyers around.
That's a really weird scene because she says, "Did you see the ad in the New York Times?" And he says, "No, yeah." And he says, "I didn't put an ad in the New York Times. You should leave." She seems like creeped out by him, but he can't He can't be the killer who's been putting people there and whatever. So what the hell has he been doing there that would have her know about him? Like, what has he been up to?
What I'd love to
we just
see
don't know.
What I'd love to see is a scene like in Fight Club when the reveal of what's his name, Tyler Durden,
Where he's like beating himself up and stuff.
where he's beating himself up, but we see a reveal of that, a CCTV footage of him like running up and down the things. Maybe he's not got a chainsaw, maybe he's got like a leaf blower or something. And he's just chasing like nobody. That would be quite funny. Probably ruin everything. But
thing is though, because that building, right, is a desirable place to live. Would they want the scandal of that murder in that kind of like in that
I don't think
place?
they would have covered it up there, would they?
I don't know. It's a bit.
I mean, I
but
think
it is a fantasy kind of world, isn't it?
Yeah.
To me, it does sort of just say, well, he can't have killed anybody there. Then that's what it says to me, and it also poses loads of other questions. Where like, was there even anybody living there? Was Paul Allen even real? It just poses so many questions just in that one instance, and you're kind of confused, just as confused as Patrick is, because he's just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Good.
So the lawyer, so the lawyer says is a good joke. He says he calls him a different name, not Bateman. Oh, throughout the film, people keep saying that dork Patrick Bateman, as if he's like some other guy we haven't seen yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lawyer says it's a good joke, but you're freaking me out. I had dinner with Paul Allen in London a few days ago. So then he sits back down with his friends, and I'll be honest, I feel like there's some deeper thematic conclusion happening here that I'm just not understanding properly yet, other than the fact that I think he wants to be caught and he wants to be tried and tested as a human being and not a psychopath, and be convicted, and it doesn't like he's ever going to get that because it's all in his head, but it's like a inner hell that he's sort of trapped in. But I feel like I'm missing some key part of it, so I need to watch it again, which is why I really enjoyed watching this time round. I felt like there's quite a meaty thematic thing happening in this film that I'd love to maybe even read the book, but I don't know if I want to read pages and pages of murders.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Well, the director, Mary Harron, says that the whole film's a satire on toxic masculinity, and that she saw Bateman as a kind of buffoon. The one thing you couldn't do was think Bateman was in any way cool.
Well, you should see some of the letterbox reviews, because they misunderstood that completely. One guy was like, "This is just a toxic masculinity fantasy. I don't understand why you could just justify this." And this guy had no idea. Patrick Bateman is not the hero of the story. At what point it's not fucking Power Rangers? No one's looking at that and thinking, "Oh yeah, can't wait to be Patrick Bateman." No kids are watching that and playing Patrick Bateman at school.
Bateman,
I'll be the killer. I'll be the one where he's just a lawyer.
Do you think all those people who misinterpret it is like they're kind of like, because the branding, the marketing might have marketed it as like a slasher movie. It's not really a slasher movie, is it? And you kind of get people who want the slasher, simple slasher movie.
Yeah.
They might have kind of not got what they intended.
Well, I think when I watched it years and years ago, I mean, it must have been quite early on. I mean, I would have been like 15. I think I was expecting it to be a sort of slasher thing, and I don't think I really took in what it was. It's only now that I'm an old git that I kind of appreciate it for what it is a bit more.
Yeah, but like as I said, like watching it now, like post like sort of like the Me Too movement and stuff, it's kind of got an extra, it's really poignant, and it's like, especially having like a dark sort of fantasy of that kind of environment where these psychos are among us and they can do what they want and they will kind of get away with it.
It almost, I think I agree with that. And it also, I think it acts as a social critique, but also like a critique of the classes as well, where it's almost like if you're rich, good looking, and you've got, you know, obviously all of these peers, friends in high places. Obviously, maybe not to this degree, but essentially you can do what you want and get away with it, because there's going to be someone somewhere who's going to bail you out, and maybe you're not even going to be held accountable for some of these things because you've lived such a privileged life that being held accountable doesn't quite compute with you and your social circles. That's something that I kind of took away from it.
Yeah, definitely like a dark sort of fantastical version of that kind of world, you know.
Yeah, not on the nose, but yeah, definitely a version of that. Sort of a parody of that in a way.
Well, it's definitely satire, isn't it? Yeah, as the description said, yeah.
It ends with Patrick Bateman saying, there's no catharsis, something like that. This confession has meant nothing. So he's just going to go on killing people in his head or whatever. I've got a bit of name game. If you guys are up for a bit of name game.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Hell yes.
We've played it before, right, Ed?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm going to describe a film that's similar to American Psycho, and you have to tell me what the film's called, and it will rhyme with American Psycho.
Right.
Okay. So first one, actually you might struggle with this one because it's a callback to last week. Ben, Patrick Bateman sings songs about videotapes. He needs to return.
It's a callback to last week. I've forgotten yesterday. not just last week. I've forgotten yesterday. Patrick Bateman what? Sings.
Patrick Bateman sings songs about videotapes. He needs to return.
Oh God. Something to do with Blockbuster?
American Haiku.
Oh no! That was the one bit. That bit last week I completely zoned out of, and I don't think I've ever officially zoned back in, Luke. So I'm sorry.
Okay, number 2. This is a more regular one. Patrick. So it's a film. It's about a guy called Patrick Bateman. He's an investment banker, but he has to hide his double life as a female singer with blonde hair in the latest Eminem song, Stan.
American Dido.
American Dido. This one might be offensive. I'm not too sure. It's basically a similar film, really. It's basically American Psycho, but Samuel L. Jackson plays the main character, and he's got an afro, and it's called Shack-Trick Bateman.
Shack-Trick Bateman. Have I still got to guess the name of the film?
Yeah.
American. What's a famous line from Shaq? What can I even think of that? Is it something like that?
No.
Huh? No.
No, it's not that clever. No.
Oh. American. Oh, you're gonna have to tell me.
Ed, you go on.
Yeah, I'm not sure, mate.
Afro-American Psycho.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, this one's easy. You're definitely gonna get this one. So it's a film I watched. It's about an investment bonker called Patrick Bateman. He hides his double life as a serious collar.
He's laughing, so it must be a good one.
It's so dumb.
Why can't I get these today? My brain is frazzled. This
is quite difficult.
Frazzled.
This is a brain twister.
Ed, you're going to take the lead on this one.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not good at questions. I don't remember what I was like on your quiz. Jesus.
I'll just give you the lead a bit again. So it's about an investment bonker called Patrick Bateman hides his double life as a serious collar.
Ah, it's dude from Phone Jacker.
No.
Oh, he speaks like that. You have to give it to us, Luke.
American Typo. Right, this next one is...
For fuck's sake.
This next one is...
Got another one.
I'm going to have to hold your hand for this one. So this is it's a film... It's a TV show about a berry flavoured flan. And it's not the main show. It's the one on the side. So just to clear, TV show about a berry flan, but not the main TV show. It's one on the side.
The American
Let me say it again. A berry flan. And it's not the main TV show, it's the side show.
Berry Flan sideshow.
Yeah, there you go.
My God.
Might have been
like it.
reaching a bit there. But I'd very much recommend that people watch Afro-American Psycho with Patrick Bateman.
Have you guys seen American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis?
No, I've avoided that one. That's the kind of film where I think they were trying to make something else, and then they just put American Psycho 2 on it, like in post-production, like just we'll call it that because that's got some weight behind it. American Psycho.
It's almost like what many people probably assumed American Psycho to have been, and then it wasn't. So then they've gone, well, then we'll make that film, but then put a 2 on it and make the killer female.
Mm.
I've
seen it, Ben?
I've not seen it, no. I'm just from what I've been reading about it. So yeah, not seen it, but there we go.
Okay. So we need to rate the film. I think just speaking about it, my rating's going to go up. It was pretty high anyway, but I think it's a really solid film. Just like it's very well considered. Like it all seems to be very well placed. Doesn't seem to be any accidents, which I enjoy in it. So I'm gonna give it an A-. Go right up there.
Very, very nice. I like it. I might go just a tiny bit higher because, as I said, what you said at the start of the show, Ed, was that this film has aged really well, and I think I agree. Like the fact that watching it again is it's sort of pop culture has really adopted it as something that like a lot of people love. Not just the character Patrick Bateman, because obviously, probably idolizing him isn't the right thing to do, but just the movie and the kind of ridiculousness of it, and the iconic lines and the iconic moments and stuff. It's really made me appreciate it even more. So I think I'll go for an A.
Nice.
I think I'll join you on the A, Ben.
Join me for an A.
I give it a golden A. It's definitely got better and better with age. And I love the 80s as well. Although I don't like yuppie 80s. I don't like that sort of MTV generation of kind of like, let's just consume everything, like be rich and amazing, and everything else is kind of like
blank check.
Yeah, it's yeah, but I do really love the movie, and it's gonna have to be an A.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely.
All right. So next week, what are we doing? What are we doing, Ben?
We're going to do The Mummy next week. So Andy's back with us to do The Mummy. We wanted to do all of the Universal monster movies.
Yeah.
And we've done a few, but I think there are a few glaring omissions, one of which is The Mummy. So we're going to do that one. Not the Tom Cruise The Mummy, because, I mean, who wants that? I mean, I'd love to do the Brendan Fraser one, but
the original Mummy.
Yeah. So we're doing the 1930s. It's been a long time since we've gone all the way back to like the 30s, but we are going to.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Almost 90 years. I wouldn't mind doing the Brendan Fraser one. I found that quite not scary, but it was quite chilling when I was a kid.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that one on next week's episode. So
yeah. Cool. All right. Ed, Harvey Retro even. Where can people follow you online? Where would you like to direct people?
Well, I'm most active on Instagram. That's Harvey_retro. And I've got a link tree in my bio on my Instagram. And it's literally, if you click on the link tree, it's got a link to the Enigmatic Productions website. It's got the Discord there. It's got the Trash Tapes page on the website. All the things I do are linked via the link tree in my bio on Instagram, so you can find everything there.
Cool. Okay, we can link to that in the show notes. Link to the link to your Instagram. Cool. You follow me on Twitter at Luke of Condor with K, and you can follow Ben at Ben_Errington.
Yes, indeed.
Come join the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board Advisors. Come hang out with some cool horror movie fans. Thanks to Kovacs Kalman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks, guys. Nice fun.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us, Ed. It's been fun.
No problem. I've got to go because I've got to return some videotapes.
From the film.
Yeah.